Before we look at the stages of development, it's important to remove the idea of hierarchy. These models can look like a staircase, but they are not about good or bad. Every stage has strengths. Every stage matters. Human development unfolds in predictable stages, supported by decades of research. We all move step by step, and none of these steps can be skipped. We begin in the early stages and grow at different paces depending on what life asks of us. Most adults naturally develop into later stages as they gain experience and maturity. Inner work can accelerate this, but standing on a higher step is not better. What matters is meeting the stage you're in with awareness, responsibility, and integrity. In the MMIP, one of the most meaningful sections is called your developmental landscape. This is where you begin to see how you make sense of your life, not just what you do, but the patterns behind how you think, respond, and relate. You're dominant, emerging, and trailing stages give you 3 different views into your development. Your dominant stage is how you tend to operate most of the time, especially under pressure. It's the center of gravity of your meaning making, the place you lead from. Your emerging stage shows the capacities beginning to take shape in you, new abilities you're slowly growing into. They may not feel stable yet, but you recognize them as possibilities. Your trailing stage reflects earlier ways of making meaning, patterns that still live in you, and surface in certain moments. These aren't mistakes. They're part of your foundation. Together, these 3 stages give you a living picture of your growth, where you are, what's emerging, and what still influences your life today. None of this is about personality or who you should be. It is grounded in decades of research on predictable stages of development. We all begin in the same place. We grow step by step. And the challenges of life, relationships, work, fatherhood, responsibility expand our capacity. What comes next is the deeper architecture behind your results. This is the structure that shapes how you show up in your relationships, your work, and your inner world. So why does this matter? Adult development gives language to the patterns shaping how we think, act, and relate. It explains why 2 adults can look at the same situation and see completely different realities. It helps us understand our reactions, our struggles, our strengths. These stages are predictable and research-based. They show how our ability to make meaning expands over time. And because development happens step by step, our challenges make more sense. They are not failures. They are part of the journey. Leadership here is not a job title. It is how you show up in life, how you make decisions, take responsibility, and influence the people around you. Every man leads something: a family, a partner, a team, or his inner life. Understanding your developmental stage gives you more freedom, more awareness, more choice. And with inner work, this growth can accelerate. As adults, we continue to grow in how we make meaning of our lives. Robert Kegan's work focuses on this adult development, which begins in late adolescence into early adulthood. Earlier stages are explained through Piaget's research on child and adolescent growth. Kegan shows that adults move through predictable stages of meaning-making, each one building on the one before it. These stages form the architecture of adult development, a structural map of how our inner world becomes more complex, more flexible, and more capable of holding life. This architecture unfolds step by step. We cannot skip ahead. Some adults remain in earlier meaning-making structures, especially those Piaget described, where thinking is more concrete or driven by immediate needs. From there, We may grow into the socialized mind, shaped by external expectations. Then the self-authoring mind, where we build and act from our own internal system. And eventually the self-transforming mind, where even that internal system becomes something we can examine, question, and evolve.
Imagine a ladder, stretching upward into the sky. Each rung is a stage of development, and we climb step by step. No skipping, no jumping ahead. Each rung gives you a different view of the landscape. From the lower rungs, the world looks a certain way. As you climb, you see more detail, more nuance, more possibility. You may think you know what the world looks like from a higher rung. You may imagine it, or aspire to it. But you cannot experience that view, its clarity, its freedom, until you stand there. Development is something you live, not something you think your way into. And this is exactly what your dominant, emerging, and trailing stages reveal. Your dominant stage is the rung you're standing on right now, the view that feels familiar. Your emerging stage is the rung just above you. You can sense what it might feel like, but you haven't fully lived it yet. Your trailing stage is any rung below you that still holds power over you. Old patterns that can pull you back in certain moments. Not because you've done something wrong, but because there is still work there. Something unresolved that asks for your attention. You may move between these rungs at times, but your perspective always depends on where your feet actually rest. The ladder disappears into the sky, because development is open-ended. There is always another perspective waiting to unfold. So development isn't about reaching the top. There is no top. It's about meeting the rung you're on, with honesty, compassion, and courage, and taking the next step when life invites you. If Kegan gives us the architecture of development, the structure of how our inner world grows, then Torbert and Rooke give us the action logics that show how this inner development appears in real life. The action logics describe how adults interpret situations, how they make decisions, how they respond under pressure, and how their meaning-making becomes visible through behavior. That flows directly into the rest of the slide, from opportunist and diplomat, to expert and achiever, and then to individualist, strategist, and alchemist. Each action logic is a predictable step, reflecting deeper shifts in identity, purpose, and awareness. Leadership here is not about job titles. It is how you show up in life, how you respond, how you influence, and how you take responsibility. Every man leads something: a family, a relationship, a team, or his own direction. The action logics help reveal the deeper patterns behind how we live, love, and lead. Now we add the language of the mature man integration profile. MMIP renames the stages to reflect the lived experience of men in midlife: survivor, settler, craftsman, builder, wanderer, weaver, gardener. These names link to the action logics, but are easier to relate to. These, too, are predictable developmental stages. We grow through them step by step. The original action logic names often sounded like job roles, which created confusion. The MMIP names are more intuitive, more human. They help men recognize themselves in their current stage and see the direction of their emerging growth. It's helpful to see how common each stage is across the adult population. A small percentage of adults operate below the socialized mind. Around 60% live mainly from the socialized stage, about 30% from the self-authoring stage, and roughly 1% reach the self-transforming stage. Development unfolds in predictable stages, but people stabilize at different points, depending on their experiences, their challenges, and their inner work. Later stages are rarer, not because they're better, but because they require more complex emotional, relational, and cognitive capacities. These percentages give us a realistic view of the developmental landscape we're all moving through. As we close, I want to return to you. Your developmental journey is not a race. It's not something to win. It is a natural unfolding, shaped by your experiences, your relationships, and the work you choose to do. The stages we explored are simply a map, a way to understand the deeper patterns behind how you see the world, how you respond to challenges, and how you show up for others. But the map is not the territory. You are the territory. Wherever you stand on this ladder, your position is valid. It reflects what life has asked of you so far. Your task is not to climb faster. Your task is to meet the rung you are on, with awareness, compassion, and responsibility. And when life invites you upward, you will feel it. So meet yourself with curiosity, not judgment, with honesty, not pressure. Your journey is ongoing, open-ended, and uniquely yours. And whatever comes next, you get to meet it with more clarity and more choice.